You already know the saying, an elephant never forgets. You have probably filed it where we keep all the comforting animal facts, somewhere between owls being wise and goldfish having no memory. A nice line for a birthday card. But over the last 25 years, scientists camped beside wild elephant families in Kenya and Tanzania have tested that saying directly, and what they found is not a charming exaggeration. It is closer to a survival system. Because in an elephant family, the memory is not spread evenly. It is concentrated, almost entirely, in one individual, the oldest female. And what she carries inside her head is, very literally, the difference between which calves live and which ones die. Start with the animal itself. An elephant has the largest brain of any creature that has ever walked on land, around 5 kilograms of it. It is deeply folded, more convoluted than yours, with a temporal lobe, the region tied to memory, that is enlarged and pushed out to the sides. It even carries a special class of brain cell called von Economo neurons, once thought to be ours alone, found otherwise mostly in great apes and whales, and linked to fast social processing. This is not a brain built for tricks. It is a brain built to hold decades of a complicated social and physical world. Think about what that world contains. Dozens of other elephants, each with a voice and a history. Hundreds of square miles of land, every water hole, and which ones fail in a bad year. Every place a friend died, and every place a calf was lost. An elephant lives in a landscape of memory, and the older it gets, the larger that landscape grows. And in a herd, one brain holds more of it than any other, the matriarch, the eldest female who can live past 60, leading a family of daughters and grandchildren who follow where she goes and do what she does. The others do not need to know everything, because she does. To see what is actually stored in there, researchers had to ask her. The first test was about faces, or rather, voices. In 2001, a team led by McComb at the University of Sussex, working with the long-studied elephants of Amboseli in Kenya, played recordings of elephant contact calls to different families. Some calls belonged to elephants the family knew. Some belonged to total strangers. A family that hears a stranger should bunch together defensively, because an unknown elephant can mean trouble. And here's what they found. Families led by an older matriarch reacted correctly. They relaxed at a friend, bunched at a stranger. Families with a younger matriarch got it wrong more often, wasting energy on alarm or missing a real one. The older female was, in effect, the family's memory of who everyone is. Decades of social bookkeeping, held in one head. Then they raised the stakes from neighbors to predators. In 2011, McComb's team ran a sharper experiment. They played the roar of a lion to elephant families, and they varied one thing. Sometimes it was a female lion, sometimes a male. To an elephant, that difference matters enormously, because a male lion is far bigger, hunts differently, and is much more capable of killing a calf. So the right response to a male roar is a stronger, more organized defense. The families with the oldest matriarchs heard the difference and reacted appropriately, mounting the bigger defense for the bigger threat. The younger matriarchs underreacted, treating the male like the lesser danger. The old female was not just remembering faces now. She was remembering exactly how afraid to be, and of what. But the most dramatic case is not about a single afternoon. It is about a drought, and it took the lives of calves to show. In 1993, a brutal dry season hit Tarangire in Tanzania. In 9 months, 1 in 5 calves died, but not evenly. Researchers Charles Foley and colleagues, publishing in Biology Letters in 2008, noticed that some family groups left the park entirely during the drought, walking out into unfamiliar country. And those groups lost far fewer calves than the families that stayed. The groups that left were led by the oldest females. The best explanation the researchers could offer is haunting. The last drought of this severity had struck the same region around 1960, more than 30 years earlier. The matriarchs, old enough to have survived it as young elephants, may have carried the memory of where to go when the water failed, and led their families out along a route the younger ones had never seen. The scientists are careful. They cannot prove it was memory, but it is the explanation that fits. A map of survival, 30 years deep, stored in the oldest minds in the herd, and spent on a single terrible year. And notice what that means for the young. A calf in one of those families did not survive because it was strong or lucky. It survived because the old female at the front had been alive long enough to remember a disaster from before its mother was born. The knowledge was not in the calf. It was not in the calf's mother. It was 3 generations up the line, and it reached down through all of them to keep one small animal alive. And here's where it goes somewhere stranger than survival, because elephants do not only remember the living, they remember the dead, or at least they cannot stop attending to them. In 2006, McComb and her colleagues laid out objects for wild elephants to investigate: a piece of wood, the skull of a rhino or a buffalo, and the skull and ivory of another elephant. The elephants showed a clear, repeated pull toward their own kind. They lingered over the elephant's skull and the ivory, touching and turning them with their trunks, far more than the other objects. Notably, they did not single out the skull of their own dead relative over a stranger's. It was not personal recognition of one lost individual. It was something broader, a pull toward the remains of any elephant. In the years since, a 2020 review by Schiffer Goldenberg and George Whittemire gathered case after case from the field. Elephants approaching a body, touching it with trunk and feet, standing guard over it, returning to it days later. The researchers are deliberately careful with the word grief. We cannot climb inside the animal and know what it feels, but the behavior is real, and it is strange, and it is theirs. So put it together. The matriarch knows who is a friend and who is a stranger. She knows which predator to truly fear. She may carry in her aging head the route to water from a drought before the others were born, and her whole family attends to the bones of the dead in a way we still do not fully understand. None of this is a party trick. The saying had it slightly wrong. It is not that an elephant never forgets. It is that an elephant family cannot afford for its oldest member to. Her memory is the herd's infrastructure, its library, and its map, walking on 4 legs. Which is the part that should sit with you? Because the elephants with the longest memories are also the ones with the largest tusks. And the largest tusks are exactly what poachers take first. When a matriarch is killed, the family does not just lose a member. It loses everything she knew: the faces, the threats, the road out of the next drought, gone in an afternoon, before she ever had the years to pass it down. We say an elephant never forgets as if it were a gift. For the elephant, it is closer to a responsibility, carried by one old female at the front of the line, for as long as we let her live to carry it.